We've been working towards this full moon culmination since April 27th, 2025, where we had the new moon in Taurus. And this is a culmination of that 6 month phase where we were to recreate stability and value in our life that's consistent with an authentic expression and realization of ourselves. This was also to consider other ways creatively, out of our creativity, of how we were to also generate finances, resources, and valuable experiences that's consistent with and aligned with who we are authentically. At the Taurus new moon phase, it was making a separation gradually over 6 months of what we used to value and what we now realize is most sincere in what we value, rather than taking value in what we were programmed to take value in, taking value in what we were taught to take value in or influence, rooting it all from the heart. Coming from the heart. It took time for this. The Scorpio stellium is what really helped us to recover. Where was our sincerity relating to our second house? What was the difference before? The difference before was that we failed to incorporate the shadows. We failed to incorporate the aspects of the self that we felt shame in. Disassociating ourselves from who we really are authentically because it did not include what others may not have accepted. It did not include what we abandoned because of the rejection. We had to go back and recover it, take it back, claim it, identify with it, nurture it, stand with it. And now our second house, it requires a modification. The full moon intensity, it closes off, it cuts off the tolerance and entertainment of false investments. False investments. This is where you finally sever off but no longer is hosting the second house as part of the value of the first house expression. The first house expression naturally has the second house to clarify, what do I value as this person? What does this personality value? What is important to this person? What keeps and holds our attention? What makes life meaningful? What do I need to pour back into myself that really nurtures who and what I am? When I look around on the earth, or when I listen in conversations When I weigh what is for me or what is not for me, the second house is at consideration. What do I need to feel supported or to feel as if my self-esteem is really there to give me the encouragement that I need, the confidence that I need? This time we learn to define all of this along with the shadows. And here is the difference with that. So let's go into the details as I explain in this discourse about Taurus full moon, what we can expect, what it can mean for us. And keep in mind that to know personally what this means for you, there are a lot of details to consider from your natal birth chart personally. So you can schedule with me to get that reading or inquiry so that I can clarify to you all those details. Every person is very unique. Every chart has a very specific message, and you don't want to miss out on that. From April 27th, the new moon Taurus, until November 5th, full moon Taurus, this 6-month time period is where there had to be a transfer of the sense of value in the self. A transfer. What we used to use to determine our value, what we used to use to consider, what is my value, what am I worth? The podcast talking points, what do you bring to the table? So-called. These were based on Capricorn Pluto ideals, corporate ideals, competitive ideals. Get into the bag. How much money do you have? What is your status? What career do you have? What's your job title? How many numbers you're pulling? Validation, look at me, I want attention, narcissism, competition, climbing the corporate ladder, the corporate image and status. What's your credit score? All your accolades. I got a PhD. I got this degree. I got that degree. These Capricorn themes or expressions is how we used to determine our value in the past time frame of Pluto and Capricorn. It was very much Machiavellian how we determine our value. It was Rockefeller how we determine our value. It was Rothschild how we determine our value. Oh, he better be making 6 figures. If you work a 9 to 5, you dusty, you broke. We decided that if somebody doesn't have a particular status in the corporate infrastructure, if you didn't make a certain dollar amount per year, if you didn't have a certain credit score, if you didn't have symbols of status, particular new model vehicles, access to gated communities and so on and so forth, you were written off, you were tossed to the side, you were thought less than, other than. This is how we determine value in that past timeline of Capricorn Pluto. And you found yourself striving to align yourself with value along those standard lines. It exhausted you. It stressed you out. And it caused you to alienate yourself and betray the 4th house Cancer. And as you can see, the gravity of Jupiter is bringing us back to that which we have abandoned, Cancer, which is the polarity of Capricorn, where Pluto just finished out. We are moving, shifting our determination of value away from Capricorn, and we are evolving it into Aquarius, how we determine our value. How is value determined in Aquarius? What are your innovative properties? What do you bring that nobody else can bring? What do you do that nobody else can do? You may say, oh, that's very hard to figure out. It's very hard to do. I don't know how to do that. All you have to do is be yourself, and you already are unique. All you have to do is be yourself, be authentic, and nobody can imitate you. Lean into your natural purpose that comes with your identity and claim of status as the true and living person, the natural person. There's a cosmic gift that comes with every person. When we pair that with the idea that neither of us are important, but what we came here to do is important. The vision is important. The assignment is important. The project is important. The vision collaboratively is important. We could get out of each other's way and harmonize. When the value becomes you being your authentic self and me being my authentic self, we have a lot to offer each other, and we have a lot to offer humanity. As long as we bring the humility to work together. You already know that from sign to sign, there are dualities. Okay? When you shift from one sign to the other in progressive sequence, it's a dual nature. There's a dual nature between Capricorn and Aquarius. In other words, Aquarius energy presents itself as conflicting interests or opposing values. That duality between Aquarius and Capricorn, we find the singularity through Pisces. We find the wisdom and love in how we find purpose in it through Gemini. And there goes your challenge. Your value and my value is now according to Aquarius. What is your vision? You will be judged according to yourself as a visionary. What kind of visionary are you? Do you have a vision? What is unique that you want to bring to the needs of society, of the people, that can help to make it easy for us as the people, because we have been decentralized and we could only rely on each other collectively for solutions. So who has the solutions that we need for the crisis that we find ourselves in as the people, abandoned by the monarchs and the oligarchs, the 13 families? Who's a solution finder? Who is an innovator? Who is creative? Who sees a way to make what is complicated easier, more efficient? Who has the guts and the balls to challenge the system to challenge the limitations, the illusions of limitations that we perceive. And us versus them. That is, we the people versus the oligarchs and monarchs. That's who's going to become valuable. Who knows a way around this? The powers and controls that they're trying to have over us. The restrictions that they're trying to place on us, that is Saturn direct motion Aries. Did you forget? Saturn direct motion Aries, 2.5 years. That's the assignment coming up. It's a restriction over your identity. It's control over your identity. It is a surveillance state of Palantir. It is total control over you and your life. The fictitious person, the straw man, the dead corpse. So what this includes is who has knowledge of civics, who has knowledge of equity law, who has such wisdom that shows us where our freedom is at, that shows us the way to liberation without the extremes of violence, breaking laws, causing implications. Who has the Aquarian spirit and mindset that knows the way to the future? This becomes the most important, or well, not most important, this becomes the valuable person. Who has found unique ways to source what we need and solutions to the problems that we have collectively because of the surveillance state, the greed of the government. So relationships takes this context as well. That is, you are choosing members of your tribe. And you choose to select members of your tribe because you're looking for talent. You're looking for skills. You're looking for very unique knowledge. Let me emphasize that. Who becomes valuable now is he or she who has unique knowledge. Unique, useful knowledge. The knowledge of Aquarius is not like the knowledge of Libra. Luciferic. It is not Luciferic. It doesn't impress you and shine and glitter. It's the flow of wisdom and knowledge that is essential, useful, productive, innovative, that leads the way to change, progression, and forward motion, that unties the binds, the chains, and the knots that are around you, and those limitations presented in society, the infrastructure of society. So this takes people who think outside of this box, people who think outside of the rings of Saturn to find a way forward in an innovative sense. Who are the revolutionaries? Who are the innovators? These become the valuable ones, the ones who you want in your tribe, the ones who you want to marry, the ones who you want to even date, the ones who you want to open your time up to, the ones who you want to initiate projects with. These are the people who you're going to be looking for. These are the people who are going to be on high demand. These are the people who are going to become sexually attractive. Innovators, revolutionaries, rebels, risk takers. Those who know unique ways to the solutions. Understand? What also makes us valuable in this timeline is the ability to connect without personalizing the context of relationships. Going forward, anyone who personalizes context of relationships, you're going to find yourself by your fucking self. You're supposed to be learning. And if you haven't learned yet, you're going to learn the hard way because of insistence. There's no such thing as personalizing relationships anymore. You don't own anybody. You don't rule anybody. You don't control anybody. And if you can't handle that, you'll be by your damn self. Everyone is free now. Free range. Everyone is free now. And you have no choice but to respect the freedom of every person. The free will of every person. The autonomy of every person. There's no more control, domination of any person. That energy ain't working. It will not come into this timeline. Technology. Who knows and understands the current technological culture? Who has found knowledge and wisdom in the current demand for technological wisdom and understanding? You know, this also especially relates to AI technology. Those who have wisdom, training, skill, expertise in AI technology, yes, you are extremely valuable in this timeline. You're good with computers, you're good with, technological things. Yes, your value is infinite in this timeline. 11th house personalities, 11th house context, 11th house dispositions of yourself. This is where your value is now at. When Pluto was in Capricorn, your value was in the 10th house. Your value now is in the 11th house because of Pluto's transit through Aquarius. That now becomes the value in the marketplace of relationships, connections, networking, and yes, including sexual marketplace. You ain't get no draws if you don't have no influence in the 11th house, is what I'm saying. All right? You ain't getting no draws if you don't have influence in the 11th house. If you don't have presence in the 11th house. If you don't have effect in the 11th house, is what I'm saying. You will not get a call back. A positive outcome. If you shy away from the 11th house. What do you have going on in the 11th house? What planets are there? What aspects? What signs are in the 11th house? You want to study your 11th house because the 11th house is what now is going to determine your value in a marketplace of humanity. It is what people are going to choose you for. It's the basis of why people are going to respect you or not. You will be respected depending upon your status at the 11th house. It was the same for the 10th house when Pluto was going through Capricorn. You were only respected according to your status at the 10th house, which is careers. That no longer is the case. Your career is not going to earn you respect. It's not going to earn you pull and leverage. Career status is no longer it. It's now about your connections and your influence to society. It's about your networking status. That is now where it's at. So you want to study the energy, forces, impulses of the 11th house to get a good understanding of what that means for you and how you're going to determine the consistency of your value going forward in this timeline from here on out. Since April 27th until November 5th, this is what you've been working on. pouring life into your status at the 11th house. We had no choice. If you really want to get an insight into that and what that means to you personally, you want to schedule for a reading or inquiry so that I could explain the details and find sharp, emphasis so they can be understood. Know that. This is a general rundown, of what we're dealing with right now. Understand? The full moon Taurus, this is where we become fully aware emotionally of a need to find gratitude and simply be present. This is where the resistance finally subsides, where there's a deeper acceptance for what's inevitable, an embrace for what is to be appreciated, and we have an awareness of what it could mean in our life if we could start to simply preserve what we do have and who we have become. When it comes to acceptance, counting your blessings, when it comes to a need to finally be insightful enough to give a proper estimation, a real estimation of what value is already there with you. Taurus is what gets us there to that point. We all know how it goes. A lot of the times, we're looking and we're searching for what's already there. Restless. Overexerting ourselves. Attached to the past. On guard against the future. But right here in the present, we see that we're blessed and we're fortunate. Everything you need is already present with you, and it always will be that case. This is expression of enough is a feast. Enough is a feast. Understand that. Where's the value at in myself? Where's the value at in my experiences in my life? Where's the value at in the relationships that I have? That becomes a point of concentration. We put it on a scale. We weigh it. We add it up, we count it up. And you can never come to a final number because it really is that abundant. All of the reasons that we have to be grateful for. Everything that we have to be thankful for. And what does that do in your life? It attracts abundance. Understand that. It attracts abundance. Because you're recognizing abundance in your life. You're confirming abundance. You're affirming it. You're acknowledging abundance. You attract it. Beyond that, If you have what you need, you have wealth. If you have more than one option in what you need, you have abundance. Never forget that. If you have excess to share with others, you are rich. Never forget that. We can't let status quo, social media, popular people, the ongoing idea of opinion, we can't let that determine how we explain meaning in our life. What we've been working through concerning Scorpio, Black Moon Lilith energy, and also true Black Moon Lilith, we were learning how to incorporate shadows into the self. Not denying them, not pretending it's not there, turning your head away, acting as if it's not a part of you, and being the instrument of your own demise in the fact that you feel shame in who you really are, what you really desire, what you really are about, who you really want to become, how you really see it, what you really think, what you really feel. The truth of yourself you're ashamed of, or you have been ashamed of. And look at all the work we had to do to move through that, to find some acceptance of self, and Taurus full moon finally solidifies that. Like the ground under your feet, kiss the earth. You heard? It solidifies. I'm present. I'm here. I'm me. And I'm finally happy to be me. I'm finally celebrating being me. I like being me. And all the smoke that comes with it. The shadow work is coming to a close. The sun is doing a victory lap through Scorpio, which is merging the seat of our identity with what we have moved through. And Venus is going to attract the abundance that follows behind that incorporation. Understand? It's like a construction site. A messy construction site. You turn the earth, you dug holes, you got junk all over the place. And now you're at the final stages, but it still requires the aesthetics. The aesthetics that makes it feel like home. That makes it complete. Venus rules Taurus. And the full moon Taurus, it sets the precedence of those aesthetics coming into this new construction site of the self, in which we learn to incorporate those shadows. So you still have the muddy ground of the finished product, and you have to pour the concrete, pave the road, Okay? It makes more sense. It's more attractive, more civil. Okay? We're domesticating this thing now. You still have mud on the ground. So you order some sod and you lay down a sod. You spread out some grass seeds and some straw. Okay? It's all coming together. You got the landscapers on the way. Put some azalea bushes. You know what I mean? Some, little oak tree right here. Little bush here, little bush there. Do a little paint job. Bring the appliances. Lay the floor, the tile. It's all coming together. That's what Taurus is all about. And Venus also incorporates Libra, which is the beauty. Taurus, which is the feel. The feel. The moon is exalted in Taurus. Right? And with the moon being exalted in Taurus, it all harmonizes together. The astral body and the inner child. Solidifying, unifying. Through what I feel, I provoke emotional harmony. Through emotional harmony, I accelerate the good feeling that I should have. And this is through the five senses, Taurus. That which gives the physical body the ability to relate to peace, harmony, fulfillment, joy, pleasure, happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction. Everything manifests in spirit first. But Taurus is where it solidifies into the physical experience, the physical reality. But of course, it starts with what we value. You know, this is a second house thing. What we value. What we value could very well already be with us. But it takes for us to decide to be present. Taurus is going to bring the slowdown effect, the patience, the attention to detail, and it's going to bring a slow but consistent stride of effort to where we give ourselves time, we give ourselves grace, we give ourselves patience. As we confirm stability in our life again since 2018. This is the ending of earthquakes since 2018, esoterically. You've been unstable, I've been unstable in this place of your life, Taurus, since 2018. And what it taught us is to take the exoteric value of stability and return it to the esoteric value of stability within the inner being. What do we value? What do we appreciate? What do we cherish? What are we thankful for? Where do I realize that quality is superior to quantity? Can I train my eye to see and recognize where real value is at? Not the superficiality that has misled me into disappointment and instability over and over again. Where is real value at? What endures in its usage and purpose in my life? What is timeless in my life? Let's look at the Taurus mantra, I have. And let's look at Scorpio mantra, I desire. I desire is never present. It's never satisfied. Where we have Scorpio in our natal birth chart, this is a place where we can learn to be present and grateful. It's a place where we have to stop getting ahead of ourselves. A miracle of heaven can happen in your life at that Scorpio placement in your natal birth chart. A miracle of heaven. But as soon as it happens, instead of celebrating it and cherishing it, instead of finding gratitude for what has moved in your life, the blessings, you're still in a negative, emotionally drained, Debbie Down energy of yeah, that's good, but what about this though? But what am I gonna do next about it? Well, how am I gonna, nigga? Be fucking present with the blessings that you do have. The fixation and the worry on what the fuck ain't happened yet. Reaching into the future for shit that you gotta fear that didn't even manifest yet. Be present. You can have people in your life doing cartwheels, pulling rabbits out of hats. But it still ain't good enough for you because it's not what you idealize. It's not the perfect reflection of what you wanted. But through Taurus, we learn that regardless of what we wanted, there is value that we can take note of what has manifested in our life. And there may be a higher wisdom that intended it for us. If we can look into it with a sense of gratitude. We do this with relationships. We do this with experiences. And we do this with material commodities in our life. Nothing loses value to a Taurus. Nothing loses value. I can find a way to appreciate any and everything when it comes to Taurus. And the full moon here asks us to lean into that for balance as it relates to the shadow work that we are closing up and finishing. Venus follows behind this full moon Taurus into Scorpio. And when she gets there, she will bring all of the aesthetics that you were missing that aligns with your destiny. But the attraction point has to be your own sense of abundance and gratitude. I desire is a good pretense for ambition. Without desire, we cannot be ambitious enough to move through the inevitable resistance that we're going to face in life, to transform and to power up. But we got to be careful with that and maintain the balance through Taurus. I desire must pair with I have, lest you become an ungrateful bastard in your life. Ingratitude does not attract abundance. It attracts struggle. Struggle and frustration. Discontent. We've been in a necessary spell. The Scorpio Stallion. Yes, necessary. The shadow work we just moved through is no joke. Congratulations, we transformed. We became new. We resurrected. The resurrection of the self is a rebirth of the first house. Who are you according to your first house? So I go on to say, the full moon Taurus, it activates awareness of your need to now take consideration of your second house. More specifically, concerning the second house, what are those values, value systems? What are those means of clarifying self-esteem in your life? The specific type of help and support that you needed in your life to feel secure and valuable or feel good about yourself. Your means of procuring resources and financial vitality. Much of it could be outdated and relating to the dead person, first house. But you are a new living person, first house. Therefore, a new value system is required to uphold and support that first house. Thus, full moon, second house. The first house is reborn through Scorpio, resurrected through Scorpio. So there now has to be a modification of the second house to accommodate the new living person of the first house. The first house requires a specific diet, a specific value system that manifests the identity of the first house, the personality traits of the first house. The second house has to have a specific formula of possessions, materials, status, grounding to transfer self-esteem to that first house. There's a specific way of earning or procuring resources, resourcefulness, and finances. In order to fund the mission of the first house. So with understanding that, this full moon is following a sequence of events that are orderly. The full moon culmination comes to end something so that something else can begin. This is the awareness that stability no longer means what it meant for the dead person. I'm the true and living person who has outlived the dead person through Scorpio. The dead person needed those things for stability. The dead person required those things to feel alive. The dead person required that specific value system that I used to live by. The dead person used to absorb a sense of self-esteem from those ideals. The dead person lived according to that diet. I'm the new true and living person. And as a new true and living person, I require an upgrade of what second house value and values that I'm incorporating into my life with consideration to my shadows. My shadows were not considered or incorporated with how I arrive at self-esteem, what I identify as my personal values, and what I take value in on the surface of the earth as experiences and possessions. So now that I'm not ashamed anymore of myself, my value system must be modified. And who does modifications? Properly described as innovations. You guessed it. Obashango, Uranus. Okay, now we get it. Okay. And at the 29th degree, that would make sense. Finalities. Keeping the wisdom of what was, while at the 29th degree, understanding the fine details that makes the difference of the whole entire decan, first, second, and third decan. That 29th degree is the small details that makes all of the difference based on insightful wisdom of experience through 29 degrees. So when Uranus gets to that 29th degree, that critical degree, there's a very specific detail that must change to align us with a progressive embrace of a new value system that innovates how we relate to value in our life, thus manifesting a sense of stability, satisfaction, and gratitude that generates abundance in the spirit, which attracts abundance in the material realm. Do we understand? This full moon will be in opposition to the true black moon Lilith point, which is the furthest point away from the distance with the sun and the moon. And what ends up happening is black moon Lilith insists on consideration in what we're manifesting. She's saying, don't be ashamed of me. Don't forget me. Don't leave me behind. Don't act like you don't know me. And what you're considering of what you should value. Don't leave me under the fucking bridge and pull off. Don't act like you don't know me. What do you value? What's important to you? I'll give you an example. There's some things that you and your true and natural self can value, but your homeboys or your homegirls might laugh at you for valuing that. They might make fun of you because they're projecting their insecurities, their bitterness, their experiences onto you. You might be a guy who finds a great woman, and because they still out here playing, serial dating and screwing around, they gonna laugh at you because you decided to settle down with a really good woman, a really good person, and they got something negative to say about it, or vice versa. In this feminist world, you saying to yourself, "Oh, I met this great guy. It just makes sense to me. We relate. We inspire each other. It just makes sense. I'm satisfied with what's happening. Girl, I don't know why you did. Oh, girl, you don't need to. But they all single and bitter. There may be a career direction you're going, a talent, a gift that you have recovered in yourself that nobody would ever praise you for or support you on. But you picked it up because it's what you value. It's not about what other people value. It's not about what somebody else wants you to value. It's not about what makes other people happy, but you have connected to what you value. And you're no longer hesitating to embrace it because of what you're anticipating of a relationship status with other people. You telling niggas to kick rocks if they don't like you. Fuck out of here. This is me. This is what I like. It makes sense that we went through the checkpoint of the Aries Chiron in opposition to the Libra Venus. Yeah, you're going through the checkpoint. That's examining where your heart is at. Where your heart at? Where's your heart at when you feel insecure about who you realize you really are? It hurts to be you. It's always threatening the relationship status that you had in your life. But that's a good thing. Why would I say it's a good thing? That's a good way to weed out the people that don't need to be there. Let them walk. The best thing you could do is be yourself unapologetically. And whoever don't want to be there, bless it. Let them walk away. Because guess what? There's a whole community that wants to surround you and support you. That wants to celebrate exactly who you really are. But you can never get there if you can't be yourself. You'll be surrounded by fakes and phonies who expect you to be this fictitious character all the time. So the best thing you can do is be yourself and brave the rejection. Let people walk away if they don't like how you are, who you are, because there's guaranteed to be a community who loves you exactly the way you are and don't want you to change. And it don't have to be a lot of people. Don't nobody need a bunch of friends. More than one friend is a lot. My grandmother and my mother explained that when I was younger. I didn't really understand it, because I was always, rolling deep. You know what I'm saying? But as I got older, I sure do understand it now. The less friends you got, you know what I mean? Everybody ain't your fucking friend. Be yourself. It's a favor that you're doing yourself. Be yourself. Be strange. Be authentic. Be fucking weird. In your own way. You know what I'm saying? However you are, whoever you are. Don't be like fucking everybody else. Something amazing. I have a sister who I really admire for teaching me a lot about authenticity. You know, growing up, she was always a tomboy, and she felt awkward in the early, years of our family life, where we used to, follow the church and all these different things, and going to church was just miserable for her, and I get it, I really do, because she has this masculine inclination in her. She's what do you say? She's homosexual. You know what I'm saying? She's a girl who likes girls. She's very masculine. The old people used to call her, would call her bull dagger. You know what I mean? Other people, what I'm saying, tomboy, or, there's all kind of different names or whatever. Stud, you know what I'm saying? She's a stud. And she's proud of it. You know what I mean? I'm proud of who she is too. You know what I'm saying? I got my opinions or whatever, and she know what my opinions are. I voice it openly and honestly. You know what I mean? But I know she feels the love with me. You know what I'm saying? We accept and love each other deeply for who we all are as siblings. And knowing who she is, we don't want, we can't imagine her being any other way, because that's just who she is authentically. And so, growing up, we saw how she struggled with that. And she was very rebellious and, rejecting wearing dresses and, going to church and doing these different things. And, it caused a lot of conflict in the house. And she ended up leaving, my mom's crib, and she went to go, stay with our father, in the hood. She was the first one, what I'm saying, out of me and her, I went over there a little later than she did, to my father's crib in the hood, to stay with him or whatever. But, she went across the bridge to, my father's in the hood. And when she got there, it's like she blossomed. Because my father was different than my mother, and that my mother wasn't exactly accepting of it. Not early on, she wasn't. Now, totally different, she totally embraces who she is. But my father was always embracing, of who she wanted to be. You know what I'm saying? And back in those days, it was more taboo. It wasn't so popular, like a trend. These days it's like females just be, licking pussy, just for the fuck of it. You know what I mean? It ain't really who they are. They just experimenting and shit. You know what I mean? But that's really, at her soul, to be a stud. You know what I'm saying? To be masculine in her, her delivery and presence. And so when she got over there, she cut her hair and she got a fade, you know what I'm saying? Like a Bootsy fade. I don't know if any of y'all know about Lil Bootsy, but she looked just like Lil Bootsy with a fade. You know what I'm saying? And, she had a clean, hot tie fade. You know what I mean? And, she got a little stud earring and shit. Back then everybody wore baggy jeans and stuff. She started wearing all of that stuff. And, the most beautiful thing I saw, it really blew my mind. She blossomed and opened up so much. All the fighting she used to do would stop, okay? Because my sister was a fighter. She used to knock mad niggas. She knocked out bitches too. You know what I'm saying? I watched her. She was a straight warrior in New York, man. You know what I'm saying? She walked around New York like she had the fucking iron hook, tapping jaws. You know what I mean? She and my brother was running a crack house. You know what I mean? Selling they little shit out of there. And a big issue that broke out, and I seen her knock this bitch clean the fuck out. Like, Lord have mercy. But anyway, she became herself freely. And, she dressed in her regular tomboy, you know what I'm saying, demeanor and all this other stuff. She got her little swag on that she found. It's like she blossomed, man. She blossomed. And her joy and her acceptance of herself, it forced everybody to celebrate her. You know what I mean? I loved it. And guess it's because she felt like the black sheep that she attracted black sheeps around her. And that's why I seen how beautiful it could be to be so embracing of so much diversity. You know what I mean? She started hanging out with the white punk rocker kids with the fucking big spiky pink and blue and orange hair and all this stuff and rings all over their face and nose and tattoos and and she had some, it was Puerto Ricans, it was some other studs and stuff that she ran with. She had a best friend. It was three of her. It was her and two other girls, Shy, Nye, and Ty. My sister was Ty. The other two was Shy and Nye, and they was never, they was inseparable. They run like this little crew. It was three studs that run like a crew, and they was always around the people who you would call outcasts, weirdos, or whatever else. And they hung out together, had this universal clique that was just the fucking bomb. Every time, I went to hang out with her, I just thoroughly enjoyed myself. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a memory that came about because many people are struggling the same thing that you struggling, that I'm struggling, we struggling to be ourselves. And if we could just be ourselves, there's already a soul tribe for you that's ready to embrace you and walk with you to your destiny and purpose. That's what I know. We're not here to be the same fucking person. Cookie cutter society. Where everybody looking the same and doing the same fucking thing. Who are you? What is unique about you? What's special about you? It's not in what you think should be perfect. It's in the very thing that you think is so imperfect about you. That is the best fucking thing about you. I'm telling you that. The very thing that people used to reject you about, I guarantee you, that right there is your gift. It's the sauce in your swag. It's what makes you got a speech impediment. You talk funny or something, you know what I'm saying? You got a weird accent. You walk funny, I don't know. But that's exactly what makes you unique. That's the very thing that makes people fall in love with you. Know that. Gotta lean into that, man. Be yourself. Stop trying to be other niggas. You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here. Stop trying to please people and be other niggas. Be yourself and watch how so many people gravitate towards you because of the radiance of your authenticity. People trust you more when you're being yourself too. You walk around here all fake, trying to be all goody two-shoe and shit. Don't nobody want to fuck with you. You know what I mean? Because you walking around here fake being goody two-shoe and shit, hiding all your imperfections, hiding everything about you that's not human, pretending like you don't have no blemishes, you know what I'm saying, or inaccuracies about yourself or even contradictions in yourself. Yeah, every one of us has contradictions in ourselves, and it's supposed to fucking be there. Be yourself, man. You know what I mean? Let people love you for who you really are. Let people like you for who you really are. Embrace you for, want to support you for who you really are. Best thing you can do for yourself, set yourself free. You know what I mean? That's why that shadow work was so important, because it starts with you accepting you first. Yeah. Everything starts with you doing it first. Whatever we expect somebody to treat us with, we got to be the first one to do it. You want people to respect your boundaries? Do you respect your own boundaries? Oh, okay. You want people to accept you for who you are? Do you accept you for who you are? You want somebody to love you for who you really are? Do you love who you really are? Huh? Does your wig say that? Oh, okay. You fake this and fake that and fake this and fake that, Mr. Potato Head ass lifestyle. You know, how can you expect somebody to love you when you don't even love you? You don't like nothing about yourself. But somebody else supposed to come through and show you what it means to sincerely love yourself. No. All you're going to do is fight that person as they sincerely love you, but you don't sincerely love you. It's going to be a fight because it presents fear, terror, because that love is always with truth. And when somebody really loves you for you, they're going to insist on the truth of you. And it's going to scare you and you're going to sabotage it and run away. And then blame it on that person for why it didn't work. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. You know what I mean? Y'all niggas know I'm telling the fucking truth. You heard? Stop me when I'm lying. You know what I'm saying? Stop me when I'm lying. You know, ultimately it's all preparing us for love. You already know that. It's preparing us for love. Everything that's happening ultimately is preparing us for love. To really love greatly. To love truer, to love deeper. Love is everything. And everything is to love, for love, towards love. Everything is towards love, man. You know what I'm saying? Everything really is about love. Ultimately. That's a fact, nigga. That's what I know. I know that from the depth of my soul. That everything is about love. It really is. But we can't get to the love until we get to the truth. Because only the free can love. Only the free can love. Truth sets us free. And that's what the shadow work in Scorpio is all about. I know that, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the content that I've been pushing out, you know what I'm saying, like my last, 4 or 5 videos, that shit was disturbing. I get it. The shit is dark, disturbing. It just dampens my mood. I feel, oh my God, the vibration. I get it. I know. See, I love the dark. Even though I'm a Leo rising and I represent the sun, I represent the light of the sun. The light of the sun must also regenerate. The core of a Leo is Scorpio. The soul of a Leo is Scorpio. The expression of a Leo is freedom. Sagittarius, 5th house. Because the core or the soul of Leo is truth, Scorpio, darkness, shadows, I'm comfortable there. That's where I dwell. That's my home. Darkness is my home. Just think about it. The sun is in darkness. And it radiates light from the darkness. Come on, just think about it. The sun is in darkness. It's in the darkness of deep space. And it radiates light from its being. That's Leo rising. I'm a Leo rising. I dwell in darkness. From darkness I shine light out. That's why I'm a dark person. I got dark energy. But it generates intense light. I understand myself. I do. I understand myself very well. I'm very aware of who I am. I'm aware of the darkness. I know it. I come with dark shadows that scare the fuck out of people. Because they all got mirrors on them. Terrorize motherfuckers with that shit. You want to terrify somebody? Put a mirror up. Nothing is more scary to a person than a mirror. Shit's scary than looking down a barrel of a gun. And I look down barrels of guns. That shit ain't no fun. But what's more scary is looking at yourself and having to admit that that really is you. On the other side of that is Sagittarius, the expression of freedom. That's my heart, 5th house, Sagittarius. I express freedom. That's why I speak freely. I express freely. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I let my fucking nuts hang, nigga. I claim my freedom every day. I know how to get my freedom. I know how to keep that motherfucker too. You know what I mean? Because I dwell in Scorpio. 4th house. That's where my inner child is a Scorpio. And my inner child expresses Sagittarius. You see how that works? How does yours work? You know what I mean? Where do you have Scorpio? In your chart, right? That's where your darkness is at. That's where your shadows dwell. You got to embrace it. Because on the other side of that, the following sign or the following house is Sagittarius, where you express freedom. Truth comes before freedom. You have to get to the dark truth and accept it, align with it in order to express freedom. Otherwise, your expression of freedom is not sincere. It's not true. And anybody can come and take it at any time. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to show y'all. I know it's disturbing. I know it's not comfortable. But I'm trying to show you how to get to the real freedom. But real freedom is that. It's not in hiding. Pretending like what's going on is not going on. Being in denial. Just wanting to cherry pick the sweet shit, you know what I mean, and go on with that. You're not going anywhere with that. You're not, I promise you. The positive vibes only, that shit ain't gonna fucking work. It's a dream. Stop it. Get real. Stop fucking around. You know what I mean? The emphasis in the Scorpio and Taurus axis is that truth and authenticity has to become our stability. Okay? Not conformity. All right? Remember that Aries Chiron opposition to Libra Venus. That's very important and significant. All right? That was a self-examination of the crisis, the internal crisis between our authenticity and the need to conform. When you claim authenticity in your life, conformity starts to threaten you with consequence of rejection, shaming, isolation. Loss and you know, and rejection, these different things. But we're learning to brave that and not flinch. There's always a threat for you being authentic. There's always going to be a threat. But you got to call the bluff. Remember what's behind that Aries Chiron. Okay? We're learning that there's a way to be authentic. And it's not to change who we are to make other people happy or comfortable. Every person should be respected, deserves that we make the effort to reduce the impact and pain of our expression. That's the That's the ethics. And diplomacy is the preferred method or delivery of the Aries energy. That's Libra, diplomacy. Aries is the tip of the knife. Libra is the handle of the knife. And the handle of the knife is our sense of diplomacy and how we deliver Aries expression. Okay? So, we also know that we are free to express ourselves. But just because we're free to express ourselves doesn't mean that we should be reckless in doing so. We have to remember that freedom must always have two checks and balances, and that is between what is morally sound and what is responsible. You know what I mean? So when we consider what is morally sound and what is responsible, what is the diplomatic route to this authentic expression of what I want to say, do, and be? My conscience is clear. That still doesn't guarantee that somebody's still not going to reject you. That somebody's not going to want to stop fucking with you. And that's okay. Why do you think that that means that you should change who you are? It doesn't. It simply means that that person is free to choose their own tribe. They don't belong to your tribe. The people who belong to your tribe already accept you for who you are. They already love you just the way you are. They don't want you to change. They celebrate exactly how you show up. You know, it's like your tribe sees you in a way that children see each other. You know what I'm saying? The same way the children see each other. You know, I come from a generation where we used to play outside. You know, we didn't have to have a reason to go and knock on, you know, the neighbor's door to ask if their kid could come outside to play with us. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have to have a reason to just go up to any kid who was 3 or 4 feet tall and say, "Hey, do you want to play?" You know, we already understood that, you know, we're of the same world, we're of the same, we can have fun together. We just understood that innately, and we just walk up to somebody and start playing, and you got a friend for life. You know what I mean? And kids don't care about what race you are, what color, or how your hair is and stuff. Kids don't care about any of that stuff. They just, all they see is, I can have fun with this person. This person can help me to have a ball in my imagination. And the more kids, the merrier. That's how kids are. The more kids, the merrier. The more kids you add to the situation, they get louder and louder, more animate, more imaginative. There's a few little fights and spats in there. You know what I'm saying? But they'll start giggling while they still got tears in their eyes. And people of your tribe see you the same way. They don't care about what type of clothes you got, what your hair look like, and all this other silly stuff. The spirit is connecting. You know what I mean? The inner child is connecting. And that's all you see and receive in that person. And guess what? It's perfect love. Because when children see each other, they see each other out of perfect love. Love that we have to relearn how to get back to. And as adults, we can indoctrinate them. We can fill them up with prejudices and fears. But innately, a child is born with the perfect frequency of love. Perfect. Because they already are truth. They don't have to get back to truth to get to the love. They already are truth. They already are authenticity. So love is immediately accessible to them. In fact, they embody love. You know what I mean? And we learn how to get back to that. But guess what? A child has innocence. So in a sense, we have to reclaim our status of innocence, which doesn't mean to be perfect, but it means to be sincere. And sincerity, it goes with Taurus. That's what Taurus is. It's sincerity. It's sincere. Taurus knows how to appraise real and actual value for the soul. That's why you see those who are Taurus, they don't throw anything away. They keep everything. You know what I'm saying? If you have a Taurus stellium or a strong Taurus placement or a Taurus sun, especially Taurus at the fourth house second house, you're a person who keeps everything. It's hard for you to throw things out because you value everything. You value things so much you want it to last forever. So when you eat your food, you'll scoop a little off the top of the ice cream and put it back. You'll sip a little bit of the juice and put it back. You'll put your name on and labels on, certain things like your favorite snacks and all that shit. You got your own refrigerator in your room. You go into the garage, there's a whole bunch of shit. I got a sister who's a Taurus, you know what I mean? And growing up as siblings, I used to gobble all my snacks up, you know what I'm saying? Eat my noodles all fast and all that other stuff. She always had hers lasting like forever. You know what I'm saying? I ate both of my Pop-Tarts and she ain't even started on the first one yet. It's like a ritual for her. She have to savor the flavor of everything that she eats. I didn't know how to have that patience. That's a consciousness that this full moon is trying to connect us with that is aligned with the authentic person. What do we want to savor of our authenticity, of our authentic reality? What is it that we like to savor, that we want to take our time, you know what I'm saying, to consume? We want to take our time to enjoy the pleasure of. Now that we have found restfulness and acceptance in the real self, what does the self like to bask in, rest in? Taurus is the bull, okay? Picture the bull in a field of grass just absorbing the atmosphere, the energy, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times when I'm driving through the country areas in the South, you pass by fields, where you see bulls and all that stuff, you know what I mean, and cows. And sometimes when I'll be looking at these cows driving on the highway, I'm driving past looking at the cows in the field. I be thinking like, it's like the cows are enjoying the scenery. They will sit there in the grass and look around as if they're actually enjoying the scenery. You never see a cow in a rush. They're always taking their time, their sweet time. But when it's time to move, they can move. And it's a force to be reckoned with. See, people misunderstand Taurus energy for being lazy. Taurus ain't lazy. Taurus just doesn't believe in lifting a finger for anything that isn't worth it. It's decisive. A Taurus is decisive. It knows exactly where value is at. And if it doesn't value the experience, the investment, the idea, the initiative, it ain't fucking with it. And you are not going to force a Taurus or a Scorpio to do shit. Those are fixed signs, fixed energies. Good luck if you think you're going to force a Taurus to do something. Good luck. That is a stubborn energy. Wherever you have Taurus in your natal chart, that's where you're stubborn. You're fixed. You don't budge. You set the pace. You put on a cruise control. And it takes an act of Congress to get you to change it. That's where Uranus has to save you. If a change has to be made, it really has to go through Uranus. Because Taurus is a place where you're not going to mess with it. You're not going to fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? You set the dial right there and it stays right there, and until you're fucking 500 years old. You leave that shit right where the fuck is that. Imagine Taurus in the third house, right? You got lifelong, friends and connections. You have lifelong connections with people of your community. You know what I'm saying? You don't ever change it. Taurus, third and fourth house cusp, you can have the same vehicle your whole fucking life. It takes an act of Congress for you to finally get another vehicle. You gotta blow a head gasket or damn near blow the engine or transmission to get another vehicle. Taurus at the 10th house, you are the most consistent career person in existence. You show up early. You know what I mean? You do everything right. You uphold the values of the whole operation. You are the model career person. You insist on correctness in details. You believe in a steady workflow. Nobody can outwork you. You don't work fast, but you work smart and steady. It's where people can trust you and count on you and rely on you. Where you have Taurus in your chart, that's where people can always count on you. That's where you are most trustworthy. That's where you are most stable. Somebody could get on your back and ride off into the sunset, and they know that you won't fail. Taurus in the seventh house, that's a person that really cherishes relationships. They in it for the long haul. Now, Taurus full moon, this could change a lot of things in the sex life. You know what I'm saying? Because Scorpio and Taurus axis, this is where sexual energy is most radiant. It's not the build up to it, but it's where your sexual desires anchor themselves at. And the house where you have Taurus, that's where that characterizes your appetite for sex. You know what I mean? I'm not getting raunchy and shit, so I'm not gonna say nothing that what I'm saying, that's like rated R. I'm gonna stay PG. What I'm saying on this, but that's where there's an insatiable appetite, okay, for sex, and the reason is because it's a way of transmuting your five senses on that axis. It's regeneration of the creativity of the self, and it's regeneration of the vitality of the self when it's positive. And so the house where you have Taurus is often what tells you whether or not it's time to indulge in sexual experiences that you really do cherish and value. Okay? It's not of the promiscuous nature. It's more of, I'm stable, therefore I must multiply. You see what I'm saying? It's a subconscious thing. It's where you're saying to yourself, I have achieved stability, so now it's time to be fruitful. So that natural trigger kicks in to where you want to procreate because of your sense of stability. And it manifests as sexual urges. And so now your sexual appetite increases. But subconsciously, what it really is that you're reading to yourself that because you have reached stability, it's now time to multiply. You know what I'm saying? So, how we're reading our sexual energy, this is the precedence that's going to redefine that now. Because the end result of the Taurus full moon, which would be the Taurus new moon, around that time is where you could possibly feel, or in between these 6 months, it's where you could be recalibrating what it means for you to have sexual fulfillment in your life as well. Understand that. Finances and diet, second house Taurus. This full moon is giving us support and realizing that it's time to modify and adjust how we're relating to our finances if we're going to be stable. Y'all know what's going on in the world. You know what I'm saying? Food stamps fucked up. You know what I'm saying? People trying to figure it out. This economy is ridiculous. You know, the cost of living is going up, but how much money we making ain't going up. You know what I'm saying? It's no secret. Americans are struggling. As a matter of fact, it's not just Americans. People all over the world right now is in financial, you know what I'm saying? Like damn, this shit got to change. You know what I mean? Like I said before, you know what I'm saying? Pussy on the clearance rack. Yo, dead ass, son. Yo, pussy on the clearance rack, B. You know what I'm saying? 79% off. It's sitting in the clearance rack right by the fucking door. You know what I mean? Pussy on the clearance rack. You better believe it's going to be a lot of tricking off throughout the winter. You know what I'm saying? Them bills got to get paid. All them old school motherfuckers walking around with a pension and shit. Yeah, it's their turn. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a whole lot of pussy sold, nigga. That ass. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it real. But I don't condone that and not recommending that. You know what I mean? Respect yourself. You know what I'm saying? Respect yourself. Now don't just go for ladies. Let's keep it a buck. Now don't just go for ladies. Y'all know how trifling ass niggas be doing. You know what I'm saying? Fucking bitches with a 15-inch dick so they can have a place to stay and drive her car. Y'all know how that ghetto ass shit go. Can't nobody fuck a bitch like a broke nigga. You know what I'm saying? That ass. Can't nobody out fuck a broke nigga. For real. And so it's gonna be a lot of that. You know, there's people trying to survive. But adjustments, you know, we're realizing that adjustments have to be made. So this is bringing a full moon to the financial sector of our reality. And we're reassessing how we're relating to our finances and what we need to do in order to feel stable and in a satisfactory place with our finances. Okay, so we're modifying and adjusting. Now, Venus, at the same time that this full moon is happening, is going to be square to both Jupiter and Pluto. All right, it's going to be square. So that square it's an insight. It's a realization that we have to make some sacrifices and some adjustments in a timely manner that aligns us with a future trajectory of financial stability and literacy, okay, for what's incoming, for what we sense of what the reality is becoming. Venus is a lordess of finances. Y'all know this. And Pluto Aquarius, it's suggesting that societal powers, okay, principalities of the society, which are the 13 Khazarian and European families that are behind all of this, okay, the monarchs and oligarchs, which falls down to Vatican, and then that falls down to Freemasons, and secret societies, and other orders that are orchestrating what our world is looking like or gonna be. Okay? Pluto is those powers that are at work. Okay, the operatives behind our governments, and how it's indicating power struggles against our social status, okay, through Aquarius. That is reading to us through Venus in Libra, where we harmonize and adjust and find balance, okay, and where we learn to be just to the self. We know that we have to make adjustments according to what we realize those 13 powers are doing, those 13 families are doing. The other square, Jupiter, we're taking consideration that we're expanding our need to be open-minded and embracing to our clandestine instincts for survival. We realize that to survive, it's going to require us to become tribes again. We have to lean into tribalism to survive. So that means that our security, our sense of security, our domestic status is what's informing how we need to balance out our finances. And it has to include working together in harmony, with our clans. Let me stop using the word clan. With our tribes and communities. So those are the two factors that's informing what we need to do about our finances. Understand that. Matter of fact, while I'm at it, those 13 families, if you want to verify and check about that, right? Pluto and Aquarius, those 13 families that are determining the scope of how this world is unfolding. First of all, it all started, into the modern times with the Medici, the Medici, you understand that, are the Farnese, Asimo, Colonna, Pallavicini, Torlonia, and what's the other one? Gotha, Rothschild, Cavendish, Windsor, Romanov. We have the Harrisburg, or Habsburg. Got the other one. But those fall into Vatican, and under the Vatican are Zionists. We understand what that is. That's through white Christian nationalism and Khazarian Zionist regime. Then you have Jesuits. The Jesuit order, those go through, our court systems and governmental de facto, officers that are not elected officials, but de facto operatives, okay, of the Jesuit order of Vatican. And then you have Freemasons. You know what I'm saying? Those who took um, gnosis and true spiritual wisdom and manipulated for their own dark, witchcraft. You understand? Y'all know how that shit work. You know what I mean? But anyway, so that Aquarius, Pluto, and Cancer, Jupiter is informing what we need to do about our finances and what's most appropriate for our relationships. And guess what? Venus is the lordess of Taurus, where we have the full moon. And having a full moon Taurus, the moon is exalted in Taurus, okay? That makes it favorable for what we're extracting of insight out of Cancer, Jupiter. That helps us to know what marching orders that Venus has given us to make the right modification and adjustments to our finances and relationship status, so that we can have confidence in the future. And that confidence obviously translating to what the full moon intent is about, which is stabilizing in a sense of presence and gratitude, in our life, and embrace of the self, and seeing finality in the self instead of the dissatisfaction of what's imperfect or not has been met yet. You know what I'm saying? That's claiming heaven, right where you stand. You know what I mean? So, we got all that going on. See what else I can squeeze out this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Try to squeeze everything out. You know what I'm saying? Like a tube of toothpaste, y'all. Hurry up. We trying to understand where we going. Try to flow with it. Everybody been crying for the last few weeks. You know what I'm saying? Why the infamous being so dark? Why he being so dark? Why he being so negative? Oh, he need to spice it up and be a little more positive. Oh my God, he's so mean and angry. Oh my God. Niggas just don't know. I'm dark. You know what I mean? I'm fucking dark. And I embrace it, I accept it, I celebrate. I love being who the fuck I am. You know what I mean? I love being who I am. I'm gonna be it as loud as I could be. Word. So anyway, that's what we got going on. You know what I mean? Taurus, full moon on the way. Get ready for that. Prepare for that. Can't mention finances, mention values, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? We talk about what we value. Second house themes, no doubt. Stability, yeah, we went over that. You heard. Five senses, yes. Well, okay, listen. This full moon brings acknowledgement to the five senses of the first house. We're acknowledging what the first house desires to experience through the five senses. So you might say, okay, yeah, I already do that. What you talking about? Okay, remember, the first house was resurrected through the Scorpio stellium. That's what Scorpio does. Scorpio and Aries is the same thing. Okay? That's why Mars is the base ruler of both Aries and Scorpio. Okay? That's the instinct. Okay? Mars rules the instinct of the being. Pluto rules the psychology behind that instinct. Pluto is the exponent of Mars. Just as Scorpio is the exponential energy or consciousness of Aries. Alright? Don't forget that. Aries is yourself, it's your being, it's the physical self. First house. You know what I'm saying? That's your identity. Now, if you take your arm and you get a cut on your arm, alright, and it bleeds, you break the skin and it bleeds. The regenerative forces that restores and heals that is Scorpio. You see what I'm saying? So Aries is your arm, your flesh, that's Aries. But the regeneration of that is Scorpio. All right. So the first house was regenerated. You're not the same person that you were prior to the Scorpio stellium transits. You're a different person. You now are the authentic self, the default person, who you were really meant to be. And now it's time that the five senses reflects that. Now you want to use your five senses to confirm, celebrate, acknowledge, and express and receive, vicariously what that means. You know what I'm saying? It's like you crash your car and you went ahead and got an upgrade in your car since, it's going to be repaired. You innovated your car. And in innovating your car, getting an upgrade in your car, now you want to test drive it and test all the features, see what it do. You didn't drive it for a long time, so you go on the highway, you hit 90, you know what I'm saying, all the other good stuff. You just want to see what's up. That's Taurus, the five senses. You want to see what it do through all five senses. All five senses. So this is where the five senses also confirm and agree and give you the feedback that you are that person. Now, where does that have to happen? All right, the five senses. Where do you get access to experiences for the five senses? I know you already know. I'm gonna give you a second. Alright, nigga. So Sagittarius. You heard? That's Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you always want to think of a big open, Kentucky bluegrass ranch. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ever heard of Kentucky bluegrass? That's beautiful. My father's from Kentucky. You know what I'm saying? He's a Cherokee from Kentucky. And when I would go to Kentucky, I would see the abundance of the bluegrass. Is beautiful bluegrass, and I believe the bluegrass is oat grass or oat. Y'all help me out there. You know what I mean? So I can get the right word. Oat grass or oat wheat grass. You know what I mean, or something like that. But all I know, you know what I mean, the grass is different. It's special. It's beautiful. It's not like just regular grass that you're looking at. You know what I mean? It's just an amazing color. It's very rich, color, and these long stretched out fields, with horse ranches and everything. And it really represents like an idea or thought of abundance. You know what I mean? Freedom. It's expansive. Just like Sagittarius, it's expansive. And when you also associate horses with that, what represents the celebration of freedom more than horses? When horses, they run free, they range free, they're free range, that's literally a term. And along with cows as well, Taurus, the bull, this concept really hits well, and the thought of earth, earth as well, being the element here that we're referring to. We experience our five senses through freedom, and we experience what we value as well through Taurus and Sagittarius. And we have choice of the free will to choose those experiences that we value for the five senses, which animates the identity, and so, and the more of those experiences that we have, there's fulfillment, there's revelation. And that goes back to the fifth house. The fifth house, it is what fulfillment you get out of the use of your freedom. You know, it's what you would do with your freedom. It's what you would spend your time doing with freedom. That fifth house. So, it all comes full circle, in that sense of celebrating freedom. It has to be through Sagittarius. And so, Juno in Sagittarius, our soul is committed to experiencing that abundance, to experiencing that expansiveness and freedom. But that can only happen when we finally realize and accept and embrace what we value, where we also stabilize ourselves in the present abundance that we are already with, the present abundance that we already have. Because what this does is it attracts greater abundance into the life, because we've claimed that status internally already, through our satisfaction and gratitude that we realize. So let's think on these things. Let's reflect on these things and see how this full moon is going to bring some emotional intensification that starts our motion towards learning how to be present where there is already abundance to claim. And where we begin to focus and concentrate on those things, those themes, and those people that we value most, that leads to our sense of fulfillment, happiness, joy, contentment. And this was since 2018 that we were able to fully relate to our Taurus placement. Our Taurus placement has been a place that we felt alienated, that we felt like we were expelled, exiled, as if we had to get up and go and pack, get up and go and pack our shit, and go on this journey. So since 2008, this initiates finally settling down with an identity and a purpose that we found for ourselves. What this also shows, this full moon Taurus, what it also shows is the fact that we have already become who we're supposed to be. We are already there. What has to happen now is that we have to create the sense of fulfillment in the reality that we already created. You are already there. You have already reached it. You have already obtained it. You have already reached that status of being. So it takes for us now to go from I desire to I have. I desire Scorpio, elevating to I have Taurus. That's all that's required right now. You're already there. You already are that person. You're already being it. You have to accept that that's the case and claim that I have that which you have of abundance in that identity. Remove the shame and the guilt and be present and expand through it. Venus is going to bring in all of the details that decorates that status, that brings in the resourcefulness and resources, connectedness to your natal community, that allows your astral body to rest in that status and identity. Taurus, this is solidification of who you are, who you've become, and it is already here. It is for you to claim. So we have to balance out that I desire energy that has us in perpetual dissatisfaction, striving, ambition, overexertion for something that you already are. Just claim the confidence in who you already are. Let go of the shame in who you already are. And clear the conscience. Let go of that guilty conscience. And we let go of the guilty conscience through atonement. I've already talked about atonement. It's no need to go into, those toothaches, those painful messages those painful topics. You know what's going on. You know what we got to do. That's the water trine. Because the water trine is what allows us to clear the space and capacity of the subconscious, of the conscious, so that we can be present with creativity and optimism, clarity. So that we can be receptivity. That's how we receive what is manifesting through the North Node. Understand?